Well, we said on Thursday that today we'd be showing you exactly what goes on behind the scenes here at the BBC Television Centre. To do that, we thought that we'd show you the BBC's biggest studio. It's Studio One. And it's so enormous that I feel pretty small standing here. Well, of course, I'm not alone, because apart from John, Peter and myself, there are an awful lot of other people who work here too. If I added up all the electricians, cameramen, engineers, floor assistants and makeup girls, there'd be well over 50 people all working and helping to get Blue Peter on the air. Well, the measurements of Studio One sound like something out of Roy Castle's Record Breakers. For a start, there's 990 square metres of working floor space. Two of the walls measure 33 metres long. The other two measure 30 metres long. And if they're putting a play on here in the studio and they have to get scenery in and out, then there's a huge pair of doors which, when they're open there, provide a space which is 5.5 metres high and 4.25 metres wide. Big enough, in fact, to drive a double-decker bus through.
Well, when the scenery gets in here, it's then slung by wires up to the roof. Well, not really onto the roof, but electric motors called hoists.
All the lamps are on hoists too. Over 500 of them can be raised and lowered at the press of a button. But the lamps aren't controlled down here. They're operated from upstairs in a control room. And Pete's there now on the other side of that glass panel.
This is the lighting control room, and from here, Lance, who's the lighting supervisor, is able to control all the lamps that you've seen out there in the studio. Now, for instance, if I want to fade down the lights on the background of the Blue Peter set, all I have to do is press one of the buttons on this panel here, because this is a mini computer and it's able to remember a whole selection or group of lamp settings. So if I want to fade them down, I'm going to press this button, and out there in the studio the lights fade right the way down, and then to bring them back again, all I have to do is press this one and they come straight up again. And I was able to see what was happening there by looking out through a window here out into the studio, from which Lance can see everything that happens in the studio at any time during a programme.
In Studio One, we can use 5 cameras. Some of them are on pedestals and they're pushed around by the cameramen, like camera 4, for instance. Actually, it's quite a skill to push the camera around and get a good picture at the same time. And some of them are on a camera crane, like this one.
And this is one of the largest camera cranes that is used by the BBC. It's called a Sam Master, and it's used not just for indoor camera work with television cameras on the front like this, but for outdoor filming as well. It's got this huge, great lorry, which you think might be rather noisy to work inside a studio, but in fact, when it's in the studio, it can be worked off electric motors. Now, on the business end of this long boom is myself, who's been the cameraman, this camera, and I've got my assistant Dave, who's also a cameraman. But Dave's job is to turn the little wheel round there. So, Dave, if you can turn it, you'll see now that the whole camera and myself swing round so I can find sort of really any shot that I want. OK, Dave, if we go all the way back. Well, it needs 4 people to raise this boom to a fantastic height of over 7 metres. So, OK, fellas, 2 sort of push up, and then the back 2 then get hold of it at the back and pull down. Ah, and we're quite high. Now, if I swing the camera around, or Dave turns us round, I then zoom out, you will now see what a fantastic shot I get. So, OK, fellas, can you let us down again? And there again, it takes really 2 to get us down. And OK, Dave, if we can swing round, you'll notice too that we're wearing crash hats. And this is just in case any of those lights up there are a little too low and we go a bit too high and there's a rather sudden contact between our heads. We're also strapped in, so if anything does go wrong, we can't actually fall out of the seats. So I'll tell you what, let's go up again, can we, fellas? Sorry for all about the hard work. But each camera in the studio, its picture is shown on a little television screen in the control room, which is inside there.
Well, here in the main control room, you've got a whole bank of television sets across the bottom here. Now, these are showing the pictures that are being given out by each of the 5 cameras here in the studio. Now, above them, you'll see there are 3 more sets, and this one here in the centre is what we call the transmission monitor, and that is the one that's showing the picture that you're seeing at home. Whatever we see on there, that's what you're seeing at home. If you're lucky enough to be watching Blue Peter today in colour, then you'll have noticed that only this one and this one are actually colour sets. All the others are giving out pictures in black and white, and that's because these 2 monitors here are really precision-made instruments to give a perfect colour picture. They're very expensive, far more expensive than ordinary domestic colour television sets, so the BBC make do with just 2 here in the gallery. But because all the cameras are giving out different pictures at the same time, there has to be someone here in the gallery who decides which picture you're going to see and when to change from one picture to the other. Well, the person who does that is the studio director, Ian, and he's sitting here. He's talking all the time to the cameras as the show is in progress. He talks to them through this microphone here, and the cameramen hear him through their earphones. Sitting next to him is the vision mixer, Shirley, and she actually controls, with this panel, the pictures that you see at home. And she just, in fact, cut to camera 2, which is that one that I'm speaking at now. Now, if you look behind me on the bank of monitors there, you can see on camera 5, there's a picture of Lesley with Petra, Jason and Shep. She's really waiting for me to finish up here. Well, I'm not going to yet, but what I am going to do is press camera 5's button, and there at home you've got a picture of Lesley down there in the studio. It's really quite simple. And then by pressing button number 2, I can get the picture of the panel back here again. Now, in front of those buttons, you'll see there are some sliding devices here. These are called faders, and it's self-explanatory really what they do, because by moving them like this you'll see that Lesley's picture fades up and the picture of the faders disappears, and although you'd much rather carry on looking at Lesley, I'm sure, I'm going to bring the faders back like that, and that again is on camera 2. But in fact I don't wish to look at camera 2 anymore. I'd rather talk to camera 3, which is over here. So press the right button and up comes camera 3 shot. Over here on this wall of the control gallery, there is yet another control room through that glass panel. That is the sound control room, and Dave, the sound mixer, is sitting there in front of a whole other bank of faders. But these faders are nothing to do with the picture that you're going to see. These are to do with the sound that comes up from the various microphones in the studio.
Thank you, Lesley.
And the sound is picked up by these microphone booms, and these follow John, Pete and I around in the studio wherever we happen to go. Well, normally they're set a lot higher above our heads than this, so that they don't creep into your picture that you're getting on your television set at home. And because of that, John, Pete and I have to speak in quite loud voices. Well, so that we know exactly when we're on the air, in other words, when you can see us on your television sets at home, we've got Claire, our floor manager, who gives us various signals by waving her arms around to tell us when to stop, when to start. And she gets those signals from the studio director, and she can hear what he's saying in that earphone there. And you see her waving her arms around. That means we're out of time now. 25 minutes is just about up, and it's time to round up the programme. Well, we'll be back on Thursday, and I shall be showing you how to make the furniture to go in the doll's bedroom.
And one of Britain's top footballers will be here in the studio with some special tips.
But before then, tomorrow, bonfire night, do be careful with your fireworks. If you've got any pets, keep them well indoors, out of harm's way. So we'll see you on Thursday. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Coming up this evening here on BBC4, as Auntie prepares to vacate her iconic West London home, we've some tales of Television Centre headed your way at 9. That's after a little more music from 1977 and Top of the Pops next.